All right, sorry about that. I thought, okay, I'm gonna grab a couple goldfish and eat something real quick. And then I choked on one. And then I dropped one and Penny got one. Then Ziggy got jealous and he needed one. Whole debacle. It's always an issue. Hey, welcome. Let's finish this thing. We might have to skip a little bit to actually finish it, but this should be the end of Mr. Cooper's testimony. And then we should be able to wrap it up with the closing arguments. I think there's some body cam footage, but it's basically just another view of what we've already seen. We'll see. You're supposed to lay over there, not next to me. Jeez.
Good morning, Mr. Cooper.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome back.
Yes, sir.
You remain under oath. You took an oath yesterday to answer truthfully. That oath still applies to you, and we're turning now to cross-examination. Thank you for being back.
Absolutely. Good morning, Ms. Foster.
Good morning. We're going to talk about the story that you told here yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
So, let's kind of just get some clarification. So you pledged grad chapter, correct?
Correct.
You didn't pledge undergrad. Tell me a little bit, do you know what hazing means?
I do.
Tell me.
It takes them a minute to get the camera on him, but they do get it on him in just a minute. And the audio is maxed out. I maxed it out in the program, and then it's maxed out here. So I'm sorry if it's a little hard to hear.
Hazing is unauthorized rituals or actions that's not deemed or sanctioned by the fraternity or sorority or the organization, because it can go outside of fraternity or sorority.
What hazing looks like if you were to see it.
You know, it is a spectrum of hazing, you could say. So hazing, it can go from organization to organization. So what may be hazing in my organization or anyone's organization may be different.
Let's talk about your Q, right?
This is true.
How does hazing typically start?
Can you be more specific? In what setting?
And before we go further, I'm confused. So our record is clear. You are a member of Omega
Psi Phi. Yes, sir. AKA the Qs.
Yeah. Also, they're also known as the Q.
The Qs. What's the origin of Q? Because there's no Q in Omega Psi Phi.
It's just a thing, John.
Just a thing.
Yes,
the Q, like the letter Q, or Q's like cue balls, C-U-E?
Q-U-E.
Q-U-E.
Yes, sir.
Okay, the Q's. And that's the same, maybe it's more familiar, but that's the same as saying, hey, I'm an Omega or Omega Psi Phi. It's the Q's.
Yes, sir. It's an informal way.
Informal. Okay. It's not an insult.
No, sir.
Okay.
Also like the bruh. That's another.
Okay, I did hear both of you say that.
Yes, sir. With a Z.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You're learning a lot, Judge.
Yes.
I am.
Okay, so let's talk about the brothers, the Qs.
Mm-hmm.
A neophyte wouldn't haze a profile, correct?
At what stage? Before they're neophytes or initiates?
So typically, before you haze, a prophyte will call the neophytes to come perform, correct?
Ms. Foster, I am being asked by Ms. Rivers to have you be at a microphone. So podium, desk, whatever works for you, but she's having trouble picking up your voice. Sorry about that. Okay. And because of your foot, if you would prefer to be seated, that's not an issue. There is a microphone that works just fine at the desk. So if this goes on and you're starting to be distracted by your foot, it's not going to bother me for you to conduct any part of the exam from there.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Sure.
To your question, Omega formally is a non-hazing, non-pleasant organization. So I've never said anything about hazing.
I know you have to say that, but let's keep it real, okay?
That is
so
real.
How does hazing typically start? Isn't
You got
it
it.
true that someone that's of a higher stature would call a newer person, someone either trying to join or a neo, to the table to answer to them, correct?
Sure.
Okay. So let's talk about what happened when you got to the party.
Mhm.
You got there and your testimony, and besides your testimony yesterday, you've also given your statement to the state, correct?
Correct.
In fact, you were interviewed by ADA Costello and Investigator Hall a while ago, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you would agree that your statements that you gave to them a while ago your memory was more fresh at that time than it probably is now, correct?
That's possible, but
Okay. Okay. So when you got to the party, and as you testified yesterday, you wanted to meet all the neophytes, correct?
correct.
Okay. Now, you didn't know everybody at the party, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And your testimony was that you wanted to introduce yourself, meet these people because you didn't know them, correct?
Correct.
You didn't know Mr. Thomas either.
Correct.
Okay. You also didn't know Bruce Richardson, correct? And there were other bros there that you didn't know, correct?
Correct.
So why didn't you call all the bros to come before you for you to talk to them? Why was it just the neos?
Well, that's a weird question. The neophytes, normally the new initiates, they're scattered, they're doing things, they're running around like they're still getting used to this environment of Omega, right? So generally they may stick closer to their chapter brothers. They may just be away until, hey, I know you exist. It's okay. Let's talk. If I see a seasoned brother, you know, he may ask me before I ask him, because it was generally a chapter thing they had going on.
Your testimony yesterday and before is that you had just got there and you didn't want to go and introduce yourself to everyone that you didn't know. So you went outside and you called all the neos to come before you because you wanted to get to know them, correct?
Can you say the first part of that again? Because the first part of that, it's not that I didn't want to not meet everyone. No, I wanted to meet the new initiates. Say, let's meet at this common place, because I didn't know who they were. I didn't have a picture saying, hey, you're a neo, you're a neo, you're a neo. So let's just meet at this common place.
Mm-hmm.
Then that's for context. That's not verbatim.
What makes you so important to call all the neos outside before you for them to introduce themselves to you?
Doesn't make me important at all. I knew they existed, and
it wasn't your house.
No.
It wasn't your party.
Not at all.
But you took it upon yourself, as you said, You went outside and you said, everybody come out here and talk to me. Let me get to know you, right?
Well, not in that tone. Tone matters.
Tone does matter.
Indeed it does. But so it wasn't.
I want to interject for 1 second though, because I'm now getting a different view of the scene. So did you show up at a time when lots of people were already outside, or when you issued a call for the neos to line up, would that have required people to come from indoors and stop what they're doing? I'm trying to get a flavor for, if I had shown up with you, were there people milling around in the driveway, in the yard, or was everyone indoors?
Everyone, most people were outside.
Okay.
If you were inside, you were either getting food or you were in the kitchen.
Okay. So when you made your call for the neos to line up, that was more for, hey, folks who are milling around, those of you who are neos, come on over here, not come from upstairs or the basement where you're playing pool or something. It's folks who were already out there.
Right. It wasn't a mandatory, it wasn't a, hey, line up before me type of situation. It's more like, hey, let's meet at the water cooler. I'm the water cooler.
Okay.
See, that's way different than like the way it was presented before. And I think that this is kind of the crux of the whole thing, is how he said this and how everyone reacted to it, that set the tone for everything that happened for the rest of the time. So whether we believe him or whether we believe Mr. Thomas, in this specific instance is kind of weighs heavily in the decision on the whole hearing. Hey there.
Mr. Cooper, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
You actually went inside the house,
Mhm.
right? You met one of the bros
I did.
that you knew. He told you that there was a new line.
I did.
Right?
That happened. It's true.
Then you went outside and gathered. You called for all the neos to come before you.
Correct.
So they weren't all outside. There were some that were inside, and there were some that were outside. And you called for everyone to come outside to line up before you. Correct?
I said gather around, and that's what I had just explained to the judge.
Your testimony was that everyone was already outside.
Okay.
Right? You were inside.
Mm-hmm.
Found out about the neos.
Mm-hmm.
You called the neos from inside, and you went outside and you said, everybody gather out in front of me and get to know me, correct?
Not correct.
What's not correct, Mr. Cooper?
If you were inside, that's fine. If you were outside, that's fine. Where my central location was, hey, 2021, come on over here. Let's get to know each other. I didn't say everyone inside, come outside. That's not what was said.
So let's say I'm a neo,
Mhm.
and I said, F you, I don't want to get to know you. What would happen?
Okay.
Well, that's kind of not the way he presented it earlier, because he said if someone above you tells you to do something, you do it and you don't question them.
That's your testimony today?
Yeah, okay. Like,
Okay. So you
I say it's
Let me stop for 1 second because Ms. Rivers is not here and she's having a few technical difficulties with turning her speaker on. I'm confident she's frustrated with you two right now because both of you, I'm not picking on one of you, both of you have been speaking over each other. So Mr. Cooper is giving his answer and he's so, wait, that's not true before he's done. Ms. Foster is asking her question and you're answering it partway through. So we're going to have to end this early if we can't have it be question, pause, answer.
Yes, sir.
Because Ms. Rivers is going to start throwing things at me through the screen.
I apologize.
So pause, ask your question again, wait till she's done, wait till he's finished before you pounce on him because you don't like his answer. He needs to finish that answer, whether you like it or not. And if you're going to challenge it, feel free to do that. It's cross-examination, but he needs to finish it before you are either redirecting him to something else or drawing attention to something. All right.
Okay.
So next question or same question.
Yes. So your testimony is that if you would have said, hey, gather around, I want to get to know you. If a neo would have said, F you, I don't want to get to know you, you're saying that would have been okay?
It wouldn't be. It's a multifaceted answer to a question. First of all, it would be rude. All right, that's just rude. Like, come over, let's talk, let's get to know each other. Now, if you don't want to, all right, well, I mean, what else can I do? Like, I can't force him to come talk to me.
Well, based on your testimony yesterday, you put people in chokeholds that are rude, right?
No.
Okay. So you tell everyone to come outside and meet with you. I want to get to know you. And your testimony today that it wasn't, if someone would have said no, you would have been okay with it. You want us to believe that?
Yes.
Okay. And then as you're doing that, Phil Thomas then approaches you and said, basically, hey, this is not the place for you to do that. Correct? Those
are some of the words. Yes, ma'am, that he said.
And your testimony is that you don't know when what he was talking about when he said this is not the place to do that.
I didn't say that. I didn't know what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm. So the reason for him, so since you know what he was talking about, he probably thought that you were about to haze the neos where there were women and children around, correct?
Incorrect. I don't know. I didn't know him. And two, I can't speculate on what he was thinking.
Well, you just told me you knew what he was talking about. What did you think he was talking about when he said this was not the time and place for this?
No, I had an idea. Well, let's back up here. I said I didn't know what he was talking about.
No, you just said that you had an idea what he was talking about. So what was the idea?
Yeah. One at a time.
Yeah.
What was the idea that you thought he was talking about?
That it would escalate into a negative interaction.
Like hazing?
You say this, but can you quantify what you mean by hazing? Because it is a spectrum of hazing.
Bruh. Okay, let's keep it real. Right?
Sure.
So you said you had an idea of what he was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So when he said this was not the time and place, and you just said that it could escalate into something that was not pleasant,
mm-hmm.
right? Like hazing, correct?
Incorrect.
Okay.
And the reason why I say incorrect, because I don't know, when you say hazing, what are you saying? Like, can you quantify hazing? That's all I'm saying.
Well, you don't
That's
get
all
to
I'm
ask me questions. I ask the questions and you answer.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay?
Understood.
So
But it's correct that Ms. Foster asked the questions, but if you don't understand the question or a question isn't clear to you, you are free to say, you know, I can't answer it that way, or I need to better understand something. So it's not quite right that you don't get to say anything in response other than answering it. And either we need to move away from hazing, or you're going to need to be more specific as to what you're thinking about with hazing, because this witness has now said about 5 times, hazing is so many different things. What do you mean when you say it? And then you simply say, you know what I mean, hazing. And I've now heard that enough times. I don't need to hear it again. I get where both sides are going with this.
So you thought that he thought.
Does anyone else feel like they're trying to break up an interaction between their kids? Because
It might escalate to something that was not pleasant.
I don't know what he thought, but I gathered the connotation
Okay.
of what he was saying.
Okay. So he said wrong place, wrong time. Your testimony is that he told you wrong, you're doing this wrong, you're at the wrong place, wrong time, you're effed up. That's what you said he said to you, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So after that interaction, he walked away, you walked away, correct?
I walked away first. And when I walked away, I don't know where he went. When I walked away from the situation, Swain and him were still talking.
Okay.
But Swain was right there. I walked away.
Okay.
he likes to argue.
So your testimony is that when you were outside and you called everyone to come meet with you, that Swain was there?
It was his house.
Swain was right there. That's what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. So when Phil came up to me and we had an exchange, then a Swain came up. So Swain wasn't like right there and I joined them. You know, Swain came up after the fact.
I know that you had several interactions, right, with Mr. Thomas that night.
Mm-hmm.
Your testimony yesterday
Mm-hmm.
and the testimony, that you've given prior is that at some point, Mr. Thomas threw a drink on you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then after that interaction was at the time that Swain walked up.
No, ma'am. We were talking about 2 periods in time.
Okay.
If I'm incorrect, please set me straight. But
My
we're talking.
understanding is that you and Mr. Thomas had that first interaction. You wanted the neophytes to show up. Mr. Thomas thought that was a bad idea. You were sort of taken aback by the way in which he engaged you. And it was, as that was wrapping up, that was the first time Mr. Swain came up, because that's when you said to him effectively, like, what's the deal with this guy?
Correct.
And Swain said, don't worry about it. You're good. You go your way.
Correct. And that's the moment in time that
I think that's what we're talking about
That's
right
what
now.
we're talking about.
I'm talking about the first interaction.
He's basically just talking in circles, just trying to make himself sound good, because it's pretty obvious that he said what he said. And no matter how you say that, when you say line up, you're giving them a command, telling them to do something. And that doesn't really come across positive when you're commanding another adult to do something and they're supposed to listen to you because you signed up before them. I mean, it's a chill party. It's not a, hey.
So your testimony today is that after the first interaction with you and Mr. Thomas, that was the time that Swain came up?
I'm now confused because
With seeing your testimony prior, refresh your recollection.
not at all. I'm confused on, I believe you just jumped occurrences. We were just talking about the very first time that Phil and I interacted.
Yes.
And then Swain came up. You just asked me, you said Swain was there the whole time. And I'm like, that was his house. But Swain came up, as the judge just said. Swain came up, he told me to go away, and I went away.
So there were several interactions. I'm going to, so the first interaction, when you spoke with the state previously, after the interaction, one moment. After that, so you're saying after that first interaction, Swain also walked up. So you had three interactions with Phil Thomas. So after each interaction that you had with Phil Thomas, Swain walked up?
No.
Okay. So in the testimony that you gave to the state before, actually, I'll come back to this. So your testimony is that after this, with this unpleasant first interaction with Phil, Swain walked up and said, hey, go on about your business. Nothing's going on.
Yes, ma'am. That's the
Okay.
first one.
So then after that, you go on about your business, and people keep walking up to you, is what you said. People keep walking up to you, telling you to calm down.
Yes, ma'am.
And so you're just standing there minding your business, just being really calm. And people come up to you and say, calm down.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just kind of get in my head what this looks like. So you have a drink in your hand.
They like
And
acting
you're
out.
just standing by the corner, minding your business, being a peaceful person that you are. And you're just drinking. Someone comes up to you and say, hey, calm down, calm down, calm down. That's what you're saying?
Yes, we were enjoying the party.
Okay.
Enjoying the party, mingling, running around. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so people were telling you to calm down even though you were calm.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. In fact, multiple people. So while you were being calm, drinking your drink, multiple people came up to you and said, hey, calm down, relax, relax.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then after this happened several times, you then approach Phil Thomas and you tell him to leave your name out of his mouth.
In so many words.
Okay. And then
I'm sorry, may I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I also asked him, what's your problem?
Okay. You said, I'm tired of people approaching me about something that you said that's not true. And you're saying at that point he laughed at you and walked away.
It was more, it was a smirk, small laugh, and he didn't say anything. That wasn't.
Okay. So even after that, so you already said multiple people. So at least it's multiple people is at least two, right?
Sure, we can
Between
agree on
the
that.
first interaction and this second interaction where Phil laughs at you.
Oh my
right?
God.
Yes, ma'am.
And then even after that, you're still being calm, minding your business, drinking your drink. And people keep coming up to you and say, hey, you need to relax. You're doing too much. Right?
Yes, ma'am. And if I can clarify, that was still the same drink.
Okay. I don't care about the drink. I'm talking about you being relaxed.
Yes, ma'am.
And minding your business.
Mhm.
And these random people in the party saying, hey, you relax, stop tripping. You're doing too much. Even though you weren't doing too much.
Correct.
So we know at least two people previously between the first interaction and the second interaction had told you to calm down. And then after the second interaction, you want us to believe that you were still being so calm, peaceful, minding your business. Yet people kept coming up to you saying, hey, let me use your own words. Coop, you're tripping. You need to relax. You're doing too much. While you're minding your business.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then as that continues, then one of your pro-fights pulls you to the side and says, hey, we need to talk. And you found out later that was an intervention.
Right. Yes. In so many words. That's the space. Yes.
Do you have more than one? Does a queue have more than one pro fight, or everyone has a pro fight?
More than one.
More than one. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. More than one. We're just talking about one in particular.
I understand we're talking about one in particular. I'm trying to learn. And Ms. Foster said one of your pro fights. And I thought from the process that you have a pro fight because this is the person who pledges you or helps you cross the line or whatever it is. But it sounds like there could be a family of pro fights.
Absolutely.
Okay. And one of them, at least, was at the party. And we heard about this yesterday. It was intervention time. This is the AC unit and
Correct.
Jiu-Jitsu moment one.
Okay. So they pull you to the side and you see Phil walking up with some other people and you realize, hey, this is an intervention, right?
Correct.
And then your testimony is that you didn't like what Phil was saying. You didn't like how he was talking to you, right?
Correct.
And then he throws a drink on you.
There was some things that happened before then. It wasn't just him talking, then drink thrown.
Okay. So your testimony previously is that he's talking, saying words to you and you don't like the words. And then you try to walk away. but they're blocking you from walking away. They're being your brothers. And then he throws a drink on you.
No, ma'am. I never said anybody blocked me from walking away. I walked the opposite way and ran into a fence.
Would seeing your prior testimony refresh your recollection?
No, so I'm using my hands
Someone
here.
I'm sorry. Go
So
ahead.
I walked away into a fence, but the only point of ingress that's where Phil, they were on that side. They weren't blocking me like, hey, you can't leave. They were just, that's where they were. So I walked away to the point of least resistance.
So if you said previously,
Like what they're arguing about doesn't even matter. Does it really matter if a fence blocked his way or another person? I mean, something blocked his way. Move on. And they're going to get into this big argument over the semantics of it. And it's a total waste of time. But they've done this a dozen times already, and they're going to keep doing it for another hour. Silly.
tried to walk away, but it's West Atlanta. So we were on the side of the house.
Maybe
The way
not an
the
hour.
backyard was set up, they were blocking my ingress and egress. You don't recall saying that?
Yes, and that's exactly what I mean. I went to the fence side, right? Because it's a small rectangle. So I went to the fence side, right? And they were on the only side that you can walk into that little space.
Okay, so the answer to my question is yes. They were blocking your ingress and egress, right?
I think block is a strong word.
Well, that's what you said.
Very well.
Okay. So then after that, you say that Phil then throws a drink on you.
There were still words being exchanged then.
Okay. After the words, he then throws a drink on you.
Correct.
Okay. And then you said that you guys got into a scuffle,
Correct.
right? And then what you testified to is that you had him in some kind of martial arts headlock.
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
And you testified that you have to be careful because sometimes you can block somebody's air off and they can go to sleep and not wake up. Right?
That's a possibility.
Okay. And you're a trained fighter, right?
Not a professional fighter, but yes.
Okay. And you had a fight scheduled the next month in June?
Yes.
Okay. So did you tell Mr. Thomas that as you were choking him out?
No.
Okay. You mentioned on your direct that you whispered in his ear to calm down. And so your testimony today is that you never said, I'm a Marine, I can kill you with my bare hands.
That's weird to say. I'd never said that. I never say that.
Okay. But what you testified to is that you can put someone to sleep and sometimes they may not wake up.
No, not that I can. The point of the move can. The point of, we're not going to play spades. The point of the move is to incapacitate.
Okay. And your testimony yesterday was that there's some times that you could put someone to sleep and they may not wake up.
Now, when I say me, I'm not talking about me. The point of the move, and let me expound, is to incapacitate and or subdue.
Okay.
Two things can happen, and you gotta delineate between the two. Those two things can happen. And so, yes, I wanted to explain that my intention was not to do that, and I'm aware of I'm aware of the capabilities, limitations of what I'm doing.
How are you aware of it?
YouTube.
Oh, but you're a trained fighter, right?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
And as a trained fighter and as someone who was in the Marine and you kept mentioning.
Did he just say YouTube? Really? I think he did.
That you were in the military and you know how to do all these things, but you don't know how to do that.
No. Oh, I never said. Well, what are all these things that you're talking? I'm confused. What are all these things that you're saying? I
I'm
said.
confused too, sir. I'm just trying to get clarification on what you said.
You're asking the questions.
Yes, I am. And
Yes,
you're
ma'am.
answering. So
That's
what
what
you
I'm saying.
said yesterday was
So
that.
you're just gonna object argumentative.
Well, on both sides. So if he's confused, then ask a different question.
Okay. So what you said yesterday,
Mhm.
right, was that when you put people in a chokehold, right, you can sometimes put them to sleep, and that you didn't want to do that because sometimes you can put people to sleep and they may not wake up.
What I was explaining was not that I walk every day and put people in chokeholds. I was explaining the capabilities of said chokehold.
Okay. What kind of trained fighter are you?
I have a discipline in wrestling, a white belt in jiu-jitsu, which is the basic belt of jiu-jitsu. Training through the Marine Corps martial arts program, MCMAP. And I was a kickboxing instructor.
Instructor?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The tournament that you had in June, what tournament was that?
It was a small time tournament out of Dallas.
Small time.
Right.
Okay.
But if you were if I had gone to the tournament, would I see people boxing, or was it MMA, or was it cage match and you couldn't go in because it's secret in like Fight Club, or
I got you.
What would I have seen if I went?
Well, I did two actually. I entered two. It was amateur boxing as well as a jiu-jitsu tournament. So it would have been both. Well, not at that time. It was two separate tournaments at one time.
In fact, you considered yourself viewed by.
Oh, fuck me. Sorry. I clicked on it. I hate this. He just said he wasn't professional. Should be like right there. He just said he wasn't professional. And then he's talking about how he went to a professional tournament. So I'm not really sure how that
Close.
works.
Yes.
I might have gone back.
There are people in there, and this is a house that has a bathroom, right?
Maybe not far enough.
You're exciting, life of the party. For me specifically, I was the what we call the show dog. So I during step shows, I lead the step show.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I do. I'm out front. We're getting it in. So I mean, I'm not. And when you say calm, you use that several times. I'm not an introvert who sits over in the corner and just sips on my drink. I'm mingling. I'm happy. I missed a lot of people. COVID just ended. I just graduated. I'm happy to be home. Everybody's just happy to be outside. So.
But you would agree that it's not normal for you to be just calm, drinking your drink, having fun, and people to come up to you and say, hey, you're doing too much. Calm down, right?
Exactly.
Okay. So, but that's what was happening. That's what you want us to believe.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then after that third interaction, you start changing your clothes in the living room.
Oh.
Correct.
Why were you changing your clothes in the living room?
Gotcha.
No specific reason. That's where our bags were. The way the house is set up. The living room sits back and around the corner away from people.
You weren't showboating, taking off your shirt, trying to be big man?
Objection, relevance?
No, ma'am.
Oh, it's relevant, Your Honor, because it talks about his state of mind, the way that he was acting at the party, the way.
And he said no. So you can move on.
Okay. And while you were changing in the living room, there were other people in there.
Not in the living room. Well, they were in the kitchen. Again, this is an open concept. The house is an open concept. So the living room sits in the back. Then you have the dining room right next to it. And then the kitchen, which is where the door is that leads into the backyard, where everybody we're either eating or getting drinks in the kitchen. So we were like in the back. It wasn't even lit.
So if you testified previously that the living room had a few brothers in there, but we started changing clothes.
Yes.
Okay. So there are people in there, and this is a house that has a bathroom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Has a bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mr. Cooper, when you're answering, make sure you say yes rather than.
I'm sorry.
Just
yes,
court
ma'am.
reporter needs a yes or a maybe or whatever your answer is.
I apologize. Yes, ma'am.
So there's a bathroom. There's a bedrooms. In fact, you were staying with Swain, so you had a bedroom to sleep in, right?
Mine too.
The couch is more preferable.
My question is, you had a bedroom to sleep in, right?
No.
Okay. But there were bedrooms in the house, so you could have went and got some privacy, right? Okay.
I don't know who was in those bedrooms, so I would say no, ma'am. I don't know.
But you thought that it'd be better to change in the living room where bros are hanging out.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then as you're changing clothes, another guy is looking at you real weird, right?
Yes, ma'am.
That guy's Bruce Richardson.
To my knowledge, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And so you're in the living room, he's in the living room, you're just randomly like, I'm in the courthouse. Let me just start taking off my clothes. And you thought it was weird that somebody was looking at you?
He was in the dining room,
Okay.
which is several feet away.
Okay. Feet or meters? Because I want to make sure that we're clear. Several feet away.
This is not a tactical situation, so I can use feet now.
Okay. And he's looking at you while you're changing clothes in the living room, and you thought that was weird.
Right, how he was looking at me, not just he was looking at me, just how he was looking at me. Yes, ma'am.
Right, because you're changing clothes in the living room while
If
people
I
sit
started
there at a
changing clothes
party.
right here, would you think that was weird?
It's a courthouse. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And you would be looking at me funny too, right?
And a party's
No,
different.
I wouldn't be looking at you at all.
Okay. But you thought instead of maybe taking your clothes somewhere else, you kind of confronted him, right?
Just asked him, like, hi, what's going on?
Oh, okay. He's
What I did is not weird. Stripping in front of a bunch of people randomly is not weird. You looking at me while I'm doing it, that's the weird thing. Okay, got
looking
it.
at you weird, and you're like, "Hey, I'm calm. Live 5. What's going on?" That's
Right.
what you have.
Well,
What happened?
he's looking at me in a. It wasn't a weird way, like perplexion, like what's he doing? No, it wasn't that kind of look.
Okay. So you then approach him, and you get in yet another fight, right?
It didn't happen so seamlessly, but
Okay.
there were things in between there.
I'm going to speculate that the dude was looking at him weird, thinking, hey, you already caused a scene outside twice, and now you're in here doing something off color again. Like, WTF.
And he's 6'3", and you're 5'11", right?
I'm estimating, yes.
Okay. And then he gets in a defensive stance. He puts his fist up, right?
Correct.
After you approach him, right?
Can you please expand that? Because it sounds like I'm walking towards him and then he puts his hands up. And that's not
Her question was, he went into a defensive stance as you approached him. And you can say that's not what happened, or you're right, but the question's out there. And I'm not finding it to be a confusing question. So you need to respond to it in whatever way you think is accurate. But Ms. Foster doesn't need to switch the question because you don't necessarily like the way it was phrased.
Yes, sir. No, ma'am.
Judges had enough.
So if you said previously, I walk up to him and you say, "What's your name?" Relax, it's not that deep. I didn't do any of this. Next thing I know, he squares up on me. I don't know, he's about 6'3", I'm 5'11", he's 6'3", standing up. So I got to look him up. It's not okay. He puts his little fist up and we get in a scuffle. Would that be accurate?
We were standing there. Yes.
Okay, so you did approach him and he got in defensive stance. Whatever you were doing made him defensive to put his fist up, correct?
Not correct.
Okay. And then you get in another scuffle where you choke him out, the second person that you choked out that night, right?
Correct.
And not once did you ever tell anyone, "I'm a Marine, I can kill you with my bare hands." That's your testimony.
That's my testimony.
Okay.
He didn't say it. He just did it.
But why do you keep putting people in chokeholds? What's the point of that?
I wasn't gonna kill them with my bare hands. That's one. Two, I wasn't gonna punch them. That's unacceptable. And I wanted people to leave me alone. You see, you talk about choking, fair, but all of this is on the defense. This was not on. This wasn't offensively executed.
Okay. You would agree that if I'm approaching
him.
you, right?
Gosh.
What would be the reason for you to put your fist up
Right.
if I'm approaching you?
And that's what I wanted to clarify. I wasn't approaching him as you just did. I approached him because that wasn't very seamless,
Okay.
right?
But you did approach him. He didn't approach you.
Right. I approached him and I put my hand out. Yes,
And
ma'am.
For some reason,
Mhm.
something you were doing made him defensive in a point where he put his fist up.
which I don't know what that was because, and I do want to clarify this. As I approach him, you're right. You're absolutely right. Yes, ma'am. I said, who are you? What's your name? And we exchanged information. And then there was a small conversation there because I was going to his pro fight's birthday party. And so as I tell him, like, relax, just relax. And so we would talk. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
you don't need to stop
Yeah,
your
go ahead.
answer because she interrupted you in both directions. So finish your answer, then Ms. Foster will ask her next question.
So he was excited, but this is true. And I'm like, hey, what's going on? So I didn't advance on him. And then he went to a defensive posture. We were just talking. And I'm trying to figure out again what his problem was. And as he's reading me this indictment of actions that I didn't do, now I'm verbally defending myself, saying this isn't true. This is not what's going on. And then out of nowhere, he puts his fist up. So
Yeah,
there were things that happened. It wasn't so cut and dry of I walk up, he puts his fist up. That's shallow at best.
Let me ask you this from your perspective as a reasonable person. If someone were to approach you, what would be the reason that you would put your fist up?
If they come to attack me.
Okay. So if you, as the reasonable person, would put your fist up in a defensive stand, if I'm approaching you and you put your fist up, you must believe that I'm coming to attack you, correct?
I'm confused. I'm sorry.
I'll move on. So after you got into this, and I'll ask you this question, you would agree that choking someone could cause someone to die, right?
There's a possibility.
Okay, so the answer to my question is yes.
Yes.
Okay, so after your chokehold, your second chokehold of the night, your clothes were ripped, right?
Pants.
Your pants were ripped. And then that made you upset because you couldn't go to the following party, right?
Can we hold you?
It made me upset because they were one of my favorite pants.
You testified, or you said previously that my clothes were ripped, so I couldn't go to the following party, so I'm irritated.
Yes.
Okay.
Can you, Ms. Foster, help me understand when you're saying testifies previously, is it what you think Mr. Cooper said yesterday, or do you have a document? I don't have it. I don't need it, but it just helps me context wise where you're pulling these long strings of things that you, I'm sure, are appropriately attributing to Mr. Cooper.
Yes, it's from his interview with ADA Costello.
Okay. And do you have a verbatim transcript, or it's a summary prepared by the investigator or Mr. Costello?
I have a verbatim transcript and I have a video.
Okay. I don't need either, but it's actually a transcript of the interview.
Yes, I do have
Okay.
a copy for you.
She should have said that. If she's asking him a question and saying you previously testified, you're supposed to say where you're getting that information from, and that should be part of the record.
You want one?
If you all want to enter it in evidence, you can. I don't need it. It just helps me understand some of the things you have been attributing to Mr. Cooper. I was having trouble remembering from yesterday, and that's not what you're doing. You are attributing his words to him, but they were words spoken in an interview with the district attorney's office sometime before yesterday.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I'm following it much better now. Thank you.
Okay. And after you were irritated, you go out the back door and you run into Phil again, correct?
Not directly.
Okay. But you at some point see Phil in the backyard.
He saw me first.
Okay. And then there's another altercation, right?
I wouldn't call it altercation.
There's some jarring back and forth, right?
Between.
You and Phil Thomas.
Correct.
Okay. So now this is the fourth interaction, right? Okay. And-
Yes, correct. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah. Verbal. Thank you.
And then after this interaction, your brothers shuffle you back in the house, right?
Correct.
Okay. And you don't want to leave. That's what you said yesterday, right? Okay. and you're upset that you have to leave, that they're telling you to leave.
Well, to provide context, short answer, yes. Because this entire night, as you said, I'm calm. I'm a party going. I'm enjoying myself. Just everything that I was doing that night was not out of the ordinary as far as my interactions with neos, pro fights, anybody, women, children. It wasn't out of the ordinary. So for people to continuously come up and say, calm down, feel this, feel that. First of all, I didn't know him. Two, I didn't have a problem with him. So there was no calm down about. So yes, going back to what you had said, it was weird. It is weird. And now we've escalated to this point to where it's not that I didn't want to leave because I'm getting kicked out. I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave this situation unresolved.
Let's address something that you said. It is out of the ordinary for you to choke two people out at a party, right?
I mean, no one shows up to a party wanting to do that. But if I have to defend myself, I will.
But in both instances, the individuals that you approached got on the defensive.
No, ma'am.
Okay. It's also not ordinary
Wow.
for you to change clothes in a living room, correct? With people standing around, right?
It's ordinary. It's not out of the ordinary. I never said that it wasn't out of the ordinary.
You said you weren't doing anything out of the ordinary that night.
Right.
Don't interrupt them.
Well, I think I was finishing my question that he interrupted me, but go
Okay,
ahead.
don't interrupt her. I heard
sir.
it differently, but both of you just wait till you're done.
Understood.
Go ahead.
It wasn't weird. We were changing clothes to your point, changing clothes in the living room. If you change your clothes in the living room,
Things that you were doing that night, calling people outside to meet you, choking people out, changing your clothes in the living room, that's not ordinary.
She's trying to impeach him. I actually remembered a word this time by taking his testimony and then having him say something different. It's making it unbelievable, but usually that only works with the jury. Judges don't quite fall for it quite as much.
I don't agree with any of that.
Okay. So after you then say that you don't want to leave,
She is making him look very aggressive and combative though, which is not good. He's not making himself look good the way he's arguing every little point about everything.
your brothers and people are trying to tell you to leave and you're upset. And then at some point they push you into a car.
Correct.
Okay. And you said yesterday that you wanted to talk to him because it's not safe for you to have a problem with someone in Atlanta and you don't work it out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who it is.
Okay.
I don't know them. I don't know who it is.
Mr. Thomas doesn't know you, right?
Correct.
So if he doesn't feel safe, if you're approaching him, that makes sense to you, right?
No.
You just said, and you've testified yesterday and previously, that it was not safe for you to have a problem with this guy and you don't know him, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So
Sorry.
it's not
trial is
safe
making my brain
for Mr. Thomas to have a problem with you and he doesn't know you.
I disagree.
Your Honor, I'm using
disagree.
his words. If he,
I'm all right with it, but there's a limit. I'm your jury, and so I'm getting your point.
okay,
He is not Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas is not Mr. Cooper.
okay,
I've been able to hear from both.
okay. So because you felt that it was
repeating
not
yourself.
safe,
That's what he means.
you thought that it was ordinary to the truck or trying to push you in and hold you back towards him.
For the situation, yes, that would be ordinary.
In fact, your words were, you were hauling ass.
Correct.
What does hauling ass mean?
I was moving at a high rate of speed. I was running. I was running
Very fast.
as fast as my little legs could.
Okay. And This is someone that you don't know, doesn't know you. You had 4 altercations with him, 1 with someone else, right?
Correct.
And out of those 5 altercations, you choked 2 people out.
Defensively.
Okay. Yet you are hauling ass toward this person that you had 4 unpleasant interactions with.
Correct.
Okay. And as you're hauling ass, people are trying to stop you.
No, ma'am. That's the reason why I was running.
You said previously, I'm moving, I'm hauling ass to get around there because people were in my way. And eventually I see I'm about 15 feet from him. When you say people were in my way, what do you mean?
It was a crowd. They weren't there for me and my enjoyment. It was a crowd. And I assumed if I just casually walked up normally, then I would start to get tugged on as it happened before. So I had to get around these people.
Okay. So
who were just there.
Okay. Let me use your words from
He's
yesterday.
popular. They're gonna touch him.
One second.
Takes skill.
Yes. You said that people were trying to push you in the car and you broke free and ran.
No, ma'am.
That's not what you said yesterday?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then you also said yesterday that as you get closer on him, you see that he is in a defensive posture, right?
Correct.
Just like Bruce Richardson was, right?
There are levels to it.
Okay. It's something about you that puts people on the defensive, huh?
Is that a question?
Yes.
I don't know. I can't tell you what they're thinking.
Okay. And he's in a defensive posture. And then you see that he has a gun, right? As you're running.
No, ma'am.
Okay. When did you see that he had a gun?
When he shot me.
Okay. So if you test or if you said previously, I tried to stop, but it was too late. I got about 6-7 feet from him. He pulled it out and he just shot the weapon.
4 to 6 meters. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, before you said 4 to 6 feet. So is it feet or is it meters?
It's big meters.
Meters?
4 meters. 4 meters. We're looking at about 12 feet. So it's a range, but it's about right.
So if you said previously, I got about 6-7 feet from him,
Mm-hmm.
Were you not being honest then?
I was never dishonest.
Okay. So would hearing what you said refresh your recollection?
No, ma'am. It would not refresh my recollection because it's still all the same. I was a distance.
Tell me the difference between 6 feet and 6 meters.
6 feet, 6 meters. Which conversion would you like?
Tell me the difference between 6 feet.
So I know the difference. Let's move on.
Oh, I don't, but I'll move
Okay,
on, Your Honor.
6 meters is 18 feet. 6 feet is 6 feet. So one is 3 times the distance of the other, give or take.
Okay.
Get him,
thank you,
Judge.
Okay.
I wouldn't like to have an
And
argument with
you
him,
would
that's for sure.
agree that as you were, actually, I'll move on from that question.
It actually reminds me of someone I was debating with recently. It's easy to argue the little nitpicky things rather than the big issue. It's frustrating. And it doesn't change the
And
overall-
that 5th interaction, I'm sorry, you would agree that the time that you were shot was the 5th interaction that you had with Mr. Thomas that night?
I thought there was 3.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that was after he was in a defensive posture as you were hauling ass towards him, correct?
Well, about time. Can I explain?
You can explain any answer you want.
Okay. So as I went around Swain, because he was in front of Swain, a distance away. They weren't right here, nose to nose talking. They were a distance away. So once I went around Swain, I'm estimating maybe another meter, literally just one. That's when I see him standing there. And I assumed, I didn't know what he had behind his back. I had no idea what he had behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
I just saw that it's odd for somebody to stand there with their right hand behind their back. I mean, like, that's just weird. And so when I say a defensive posture, it would be different from, say, a Bruce who had his fist up. So the natural assumption, if someone is standing there with their assumed dominant hand behind their back, is they have a projectile. No one stands there with a knife.
How do you know what's his dominant hand?
That's an assumed dominant hand.
He actually shot him with his non-dominant hand. And ironically, that pose that he's doing, that's the exact same pose that Thomas did, saying that he was running towards him with his hand like that. Both of them sound a little not right.
And now that Judge McBurney has explained to me what the 18 feet is 6 meters. So you're saying that Swain and Mr. Thomas were standing 18 feet away having a conversation?
About, and that's why I gave a range. Again, they were not close.
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right.
We're done.
Any redirect?
Very briefly, Judge. Mr. Cooper, you testified on cross about an interview that you and I had prior to today's hearing that was recorded, was sent in discovery. That was in September of 2022.
Yes, sir.
So that was about a year and a half after the incident date.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Are you left-handed or right-handed?
I'm right-handed.
I have nothing further, Judge.
Really quickly. Well, you know what? I don't. No further questions.
Okay. You said you're right-handed
Yes, sir.
and nothing else, Ms. Foster.
No.
All right. Mr. Cooper, you can step down.
Yes, sir.
Raise your hand. Do you swear affirm that the testimony you give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so
Yes.
go ahead and have a seat. State and spell your name for the record.
Officer Shireen Barnett, first name Sherane, last name Barnett, Barnett.
Now you can sit down. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Good afternoon, Officer Barnett. Thank you for being here. Officer, where are you currently employed?
City of Atlanta, Zone 1.
Is that for the police department?
Yes, sir.
How long have you been with the Atlanta Police Department?
4 years, 3 years sworn.
And what is your duties in your current position with the Atlanta Police Department?
I am a patrol officer, answer 911 calls.
And were you employed in this position in May of 2021?
Yes, sir.
And you're post-certified?
Yes, sir.
And you have been throughout your career?
Yes, sir.
I want to draw your attention to the early morning hours of May 16th of 2021. Do you recall responding to a person shot call?
Yes, sir.
Was that at 688 South Elizabeth Place Northwest?
Yes, sir.
Is that in Fulton County?
Yes, sir.
Can you tell the court what you observed when you arrived on this scene?
Yes, sir. When I arrived on scene, I observed people standing outside. I also observed that the 2 victims and suspect was not on scene. I then located 1 shell casing and blood at the crime scene.
And throughout your initial investigation of this scene, did you learn that the victims were transported to Grady Hospital,
Yes, sir.
but they weren't transported by an ambulance?
Soon.
And did you respond to Grady Hospital?
Yes, sir.
As an Atlanta police officer, are you equipped with a body-worn camera?
Yes, sir.
And are your fellow officers also given body-worn cameras?
Yes, sir.
And those are to record police-citizen encounters?
Yes, sir.
And did you have your body camera up and running while you were at Grady Hospital?
Yes, sir.
And Grady Hospital is at 80 Jesse Hill Jr. Drive?
Yes, sir.
And was Officer Vickers from the Atlanta Police Department also present?
Yes, sir.
And having shown defense counsel states exhibit 2 and showing witness what's been marked as states exhibit 2, Officer Barnett, do you recognize this disc?
Yes, sir.
What is on that disc?
It's gonna be Officer Vickers' body-worn camera footage.
And on this body-worn camera footage, is there a statement that is recorded by the defendant, in this case, Mr. Phil Thomas?
Yes, sir.
And are you present with Officer Vickers for the entirety of that statement?
Yes, sir.
And is what's on this disc a fair and accurate recording of what the defendant said on May 16th, 2021?
Yes, sir.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would move to tender exhibit 2 in evidence.
All right, before we work through that, Officer Vickers is a colleague of yours, also a Zone 1 patrol officer?
He was, yes, sir.
Were you and he partners that night such that you both went to the Elizabeth Drive address?
He assisted me on the call.
It's kind of odd. Usually they're going to bring in the officer whose camera it was to authenticate it, not their partner.
Yes, sir.
Okay, he had a separate car, showed up also,
Yes, sir.
and then you
Yeah.
both went to Grady.
Yes, sir.
All right. Was your camera broken?
No, sir.
This is just footage from Vickers.
And Judge, to be honest with you, it's the state's position that Vickers' body camera has better audio, which is why we're playing Vickers' body camera.
Okay. Is the disc all of the body camera so that really Officer Barnett's not in a position to lay the foundation for things beyond the interview with Mr. Thomas? And so we need to work through that, or, and you're only admitting it for, and you'll tell me what the minute start and end points are?
Yes, Judge. It is not the state's position that Officer Barnett can authenticate every single thing on this disc. It's a 75+ minute recording. However, Officer Barnett was present for the statement the defendant made to both Officer Barnett and Officer Vickers between the times of 42 minutes and 49 minutes and 45 seconds. The state is seeking to admit this 7-minute, 45-second piece of the defendant's statement for impeachment purposes.
There may be on this disc some interaction with Mr. Maddox?
No. Not
No.
that I know of.
Oh,
So I'm totally objecting to the fact that this video, this body cam comes in through Vickers. Your Honor, Officer Barnett has her own body cam, and I submit to you that it is very, you can hear it. You can hear everything that's being said. I think that the better way to have gotten this body cam footage successfully authenticated would have been Officer Vickers coming to testify and admitting his body cam, and then we can play the body cam or the portion of the body cam where Officer Barnett is physically present, and then she can authenticate herself. But as far as allowing this whole body cam of a separate officer who came in a separate vehicle, who had a separate body cam when Officer Barnett had her own body cam, is improper.
okay.
And we can hear her body cam. So my understanding is the argument is that Officer Vickers' body cam is more audible, which is not necessarily true.
Officer Vickers, have you viewed the 7-minute and 45-second segment from Vickers's camera?
I viewed some.
Some,
must not be
meaning,
available.
I don't mean, did you view all 200 hours of it, but this interview that you and Officer Vickers had with Mr. Thomas, have you viewed that?
Yes.
Okay, and was it a fair and accurate recordation of the interaction that you and Officer Vickers had with Mr. Thomas? Okay, I don't think it matters if it was Judge McBurney's body cam, if Officer Vickers was present, I'm sorry, if Officer Barnett was present. My concern is not the 7-minute and 45-second segment. If in fact Officer Barnett was present for the entirety of it, because it could have been a Ring camera on the front door of Mr. Swain's house that recorded it. I think she's in a position to authenticate that, just like she could authenticate a photo that someone else took at a scene where she was present. What I do want to make sure is that we are only getting into the record that which Officer Barnett can authenticate. So you'll play into the record the 7 minutes and 45 seconds. I'll let you tender states 2, but you'll need to replace it at some point for posterity's sake. I'm not going to watch other parts of the disc, but for posterity's sake, just in case this goes to trial and it's a different prosecutor and you grab states 2 and we're suddenly playing other parts of Officer Vickers' body-worn camera that Officer Barnett may not be in a position to authenticate. So I'm going to allow it in over objection, total objection. But what I'm allowing in is the 7-minute and 45-second segment that you've identified, Mr. Costello, 4200 to 4945. That's it. But so we can move forward today, I will actually take Exhibit 2, and then at some point, when you've got more technically inclined folks involved, they ought to create an extract, share it with Ms. Foster and Ms. Hawkins so that they can see 2A is actually just that 7 minutes and 45 seconds. And you think this is a better version, and that's great. The defense is entitled to introduce the Barnett version. I don't know why we would need both if in fact they're both standing there, but I don't see an evidentiary basis to exclude that piece there. What else did you want to get on the record, Ms. Hawkins?
Yes, Your Honor. For the record, we were under the impression that this whole conversation about Mr. Maddox's testimony, we were talking about Officer Barnett's body camera, and then the state comes and they bring in Officer Vickers' body camera through Officer Barnett, who has her own body camera. So I wanted to put that on the record, that the reason why we indicated that Mr. Maddox could be released from his subpoena was based on the representation of the state, indicating that Officer Barnett, would be testifying. And she is testifying, but now they're using someone else's body cam to get other evidence in.
Okay, 3 things on that. One, I think the record is that Mr. Maddox wasn't subpoenaed. That doesn't change a whole lot, but I don't know that he appeared via subpoena. Number 2, if you've got Officer Barnett's body camera, which it sounds like you do, because I heard Ms. Foster say to you and then through you, you can hear it just fine on hers, then you can use that with her to get the Maddox part in. And number 3, I remain open to leaving the record open if the best way for you to explore what you want to explore is for us to get Mr. Maddox back here virtually, he's not in Greece, or in person. So one way or the other, you'll get the Maddox piece that you want to get in. I suspect it'll be category number 2, meaning you've got Officer Barnett's body camera. You can authenticate that through her. I don't think there's going to be an objection from the state anyway. They may even have it on a disc if you don't, and I'll ask to use their exhibit if they've got it. And then you can explore with Officer Barnett what's on her body camera. But I'm not going to second guess one side or the other if they think there's a crisper video, and it's really the audio that is at play here. I think we've all heard people talking through masks, and they're at a hospital. So there's all sorts of stuff going on in the background. So over objection, I am allowing in states 2, and the state will just need to refine its Exhibit 2 to the segment we're talking about at a later date.
Thank you.
Still more? You're still standing.
Exclude that, and she was trying to get that excluded, but didn't put forth a very good argument for it. The state really screwed up. Well, not really screwed up. I mean, they'll handle it okay, but generally you don't present evidence that has other evidence excluded attached to it.
Okay, all right. Back to you, Mr. Costello.
Thank you, Judge. Officer Barnett, when you and Officer Vickers spoke with the defendant, was he physically restrained in any way?
No, sir.
Did you ever use your weapons in a threatening manner towards him?
Sure. No, sir.
Did you consider him to be in custody at the time?
No, sir.
Was he read his Miranda rights?
No, sir.
Did you threaten or coerce him in any way to make a statement?
No, sir.
And he freely and voluntarily gave the statement.
Yes, sir.
Judge, at this time, we will publish that 7-minute.
Welcome.
Before you do that, Officer Barnett, I've been able to hear a whole lot of testimony about Mr. Thomas at Grady Hospital, and I've heard some information about someone being present with Mr. Thomas, who Mr. Thomas represented to be his lawyer or a lawyer, and it may be this individual represented himself to be a lawyer or Mr. Thomas's lawyer. When you and Officer Vickers had the interaction we're about to watch, had it been brought to your attention that Mr. Thomas had a lawyer there at the Grady parking lot?
While we were talking to him, he said that his lawyer was on his way. As we were talking, the lawyer did come up. However, the lawyer never interjected.
Never said, what are you doing talking to my client? Stop this, anything like that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, and for the record, Judge, we're starting at the 42-minute mark on the dot.
I don't think he accidentally shot his friend. I think he's better than that, to where he would have accidentally done it.
So you said Swain is standing next to him?
Hey, come on. Yeah. Hey,
Hold on for a minute. Yes, sir.
I don't mean to cut you off.
Hey,
I
I
get
got
what you're saying.
Officer Barnett and I got Officer Vickers need to talk to me, dog. So let me get off the phone with you. I'm gonna talk. Listen to me. I'm gonna talk to Officer Barnett, Officer Vickers, Officer Washington, and Officer York. I'm gonna get off the phone with you and I'll call you back. Stand fast. Real.
Okay. Just right now, real quick question.
Yes.
Where'd Mr. Carter go? You know?
He was talking to y'all.
All right, that's fine. So listen, real quick. I get 12 o'clock you, Cooper hurt, right? How far away was Swain? How far away
Swain was at my 9 o'clock.
He was at your 9 o'clock, but was he next to you? Or was
Okay,
he far
no,
away?
he wasn't next to me. Swain was like for that edge cut in that concrete. What's that? What would you estimate?
So you could almost jump in
6 feet.
Yeah, okay.
What's that? 6 feet? 8 feet?
All right, please roll in 6 to 8 feet.
If I'm here, Swain's at that red pole right there. Whatever that distance y'all estimate.
Okay. Is he behind you or a little bit ahead of you?
No, he's a little bit ahead of me. Let me back up. He's at that pole.
Okay. And you fired one shot, right?
One shot at my 12.
And you know you hit.
I don't know where I hit, but I'm at my 12.
Okay. And you never saw him with a gun?
No, he did this. I'll kill you, motherfucker. He did me like this.
And you got out first.
And I had my charger. My phone, my car keys, and my gun onto my front seat. And that's when I discharged.
Was there anything between you and Swain? Was there a vehicle between y'all or anything like that?
No, I was on the street. And if you know, any of you guys know John Lewis Academy, the elementary middle school.
We know it.
I know that side street that has the houses and the front corridor that you can do the turnaround.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
We on that one street. I'm looking this way. We got the street of the school right here. And also to your right is that single house on the corner. The single house on the corner is Swain's house. 688.
Yeah.
That street. This way is the football field and the track. This way is the library for Atlanta Public Schools. Right there is Bankhead.
Yeah.
I'm right here, and my truck right there is on the sidewalk. It's technically a one-way street, but you can do a whoop-de-whoop. My truck right there ready to go that way, and the school is there. The sidewalk, driveway, school.
I got you. Did Swain have a gun?
I don't know.
You don't? Is it possible that he had a gun?
Yes.
Okay, so you hear me, Barnett?
It's possible, but I don't know for sure.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fair. We
It's
get
fair?
it.
Okay.
That's fine.
I just want to be honest.
And I want to. So once again, you painted a good picture right there, right?
Yeah.
If I'm Swain, I can see I'm about 6 to 8 feet, like you said, right? There's nothing in between us.
If you swing, back up one more step. You right there.
And there's nothing in between us. No vehicle, no nothing.
There's a sidewalk, my truck.
So if I do something, I can throw it straight at you and hit you, right?
You can hit me or the truck.
All right.
Because my driver's side door is open.
Okay. I got you.
You got my truck here. That guy coming toward me in front of my truck on Elizabeth coming toward me.
Okay.
Now,
Swain's
right next
in
to
all
the
piece of
passenger.
transparency, my attorney is on his way right now.
That's fine.
Out of transparency. Can I continue to talk to you?
That's up to you. We're just trying to sort this.
First of all,
we're trying to figure this whole thing
I
out.
didn't murder or try to murder or do nothing. Self-defense. I'm fine with that. I know my stance in society, regardless, black, white, regardless. But I'm just letting you know my attorney's on his way down.
Look,
As y'all being transparent
we're
with
talking,
me,
you're
I'm
not
being
in handcuffs, you
transparent with you.
understand that?
Yes.
We're just piecing, we're putting things together, that's all we're
Yes.
doing, trying to piece
Yes.
everything together. So let me ask you a question.
Whoop-de-whoop is a very common term, very popular, used to describe something
Did Swain ride
important.
to the barbecue with you?
No.
Okay, that's fine,
That's
that's
his
fine.
house.
That's his house, he was already there.
That's his house.
So,
Come here, dog. I'm standing right here.
so, that's his house.
Yes.
But as soon as he got shot, y'all put him in the vehicle and drove here?
Really?
Don't worry about that. Hey, listen. Mr. Thomas. Mr. Thomas, stay with me, please. Let it go, man. He's just upset. Let it go. Thomas, talk to me, all right?
I'm sorry.
I'm Swain. As soon as I got shot, you threw me in the car and then drove here? Or you did something else? Did
Swain got shot.
Did Swain go in the house?
No. What happened was,
I wonder who that
whatever
was.
happened to the gentleman in front of my truck, a bunch of people grabbed him. They disappeared.
Okay.
While everybody's yelling, "Hey man, goddamn, what the fuck?" So I don't know what he may have had, what he may not have had. I'm being honest. In his defense, we don't know because they car routed him and they did.
Okay.
Swain was right here. That guy who just walked off in the purple shirt was like, Bill, Swain down. I said, Swain, what the fuck? We don't know. So me and him scooped Swain, dropped my back seats in my truck, threw him in the truck, and drove here. And that's when I met you in Washington.
Okay, so, one more question. Who's the guy on the green?
He was there also. That's one of my student athletes.
I got you.
That's one of my student athletes.
Did he witness any of it?
Oh,
Evidently, no, the way he just approached me in front of y'all. But he was there. We talked earlier about bullshit that was happening. And
so I don't know if you guys remember, he is the athletic director for Morehouse College in Atlanta. So one of his students, which would have been a college student, athletes who he technically is in charge of, was there and witnessed all this. That's messed up.
the quote unquote barbecue. Him and Swain. I'm gonna be very transparent. I have shit to hide. Him and Swain, the guy that I brought here, best of friends. And I pledged both of them. We're all in the same fraternity. I pledged both of them at the same year group. But outside of him, Swain is his partner. Stone Mountain. What bothered me here, this guy is my student athlete for Morehouse. And I have no problem being honest with everybody. Run my information low. I'm the associate athletic director for Morehouse College.
Okay, Mr. Thomas, in case we lose contact, what's a good phone number for you?
My name is my number is 770-696-0. On the website, I'm Dr. Thomas, and that's my former student athlete. He's personal friends with Swain, so I don't know the whole display that he can do this thing.
For the record, Judge, stopping the body camera at 49 minutes and 45 seconds. Officer Burnett, I'm statement that's captured on Officer Vickers' body cam. You heard the defendant say that Swain was 6 feet away,
Approximately, yes, sir.
and you also heard the defendant say that he never saw a gun,
Yes, sir.
and that the gentleman in front of my truck didn't know what he may or may not have had. And during his statement, he never mentioned anything about a lunge. Officer Burnett,
Excuse me, I don't hear the witness.
The microphone, you are far from the microphone. So, Ms. River, that was our court reporter you just heard from, not the Lord. And I was close. So you need to lean in and there you go.
So I guess their court reporters are virtual.
during the defendant's statement, he never mentioned anything about a lunge.
No, sir.
Burnett, we're certified to make a record. Every time a crime is committed, do you always make an arrest on scene?
No, sir.
you have discretion to make a
What is up with his mic?
Judge, I don't think I have anything further.
Officer Barnett, there were a bunch of officers standing around there. We've heard from a couple during the course of these proceedings, to include someone with the title of investigator, McManus. I think I saw him walk in there. Of those of you who were present at the scene we just saw, at Grady, interacting with Mr. Thomas, which one of you would have had the authority to arrest if that decision was, who was going to be making that decision out of all of you wandering around?
It would be me or the investigator.
You or McManus? Okay. Ms. Hawkins, do you have questions for Officer Barnett?
Yes, Your Honor, I do. I know, this is aside from the questions, but I know that there was some instruction given to AD and Costello to play the sound without, I guess, messing up the whole audio system. I'm just trying to figure out how to play the sound without throwing everything off.
I don't think you want to play only sound.
No, sound and video.
You want to do what the state's been doing.
Yes.
So is this the Hawkins connection here?
Yes.
Okay. When you do share screen, let me try first. Down at the bottom, there's a share sound and optimize for video clip. Make sure you check both those boxes, and then it should be a happy space.
Okay. Good afternoon, Officer Barnett.
Good afternoon.
How are you?
And well, how about yourself?
I'm good, thank you. So just a couple of follow-up questions. I know the state just asked you whether Mr. Thomas said that Mr. Cooper had a gun, and your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
During that video that you just watched, Officer Vickers' body cam, Mr. Thomas was making a hand gesture as well, correct?
Can you?
When he was explaining to you how Mr. Cooper was approaching him,
Mhm.
did he not have his hand behind his back?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that was as he was telling you how Mr. Cooper approached him.
Yes, ma'am.
And you, being the first responding officer, you filed a report, or you wrote a report in this case, didn't you?
Yes, ma'am.
And in that report, you detailed the information that was provided to you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And during your investigation of this case, you were able to speak to several witnesses, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And one of those witnesses being Mr. Frederick Maddox, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you added in your report the things that Mr. Maddox told you, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you also recorded his statement that he made to you on body camera, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your body camera was turned over to the district attorney's office, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a part of the file.
Correct.
Do you recall Mr. Maddox telling you that he saw Mr. Cooper rushing towards Mr. Phil Thomas?
I don't recall him, but if it's in my report, he probably did tell me.
If I showed you your report, would that refresh your recollection?
Sure, yeah.
1 second, I'm gonna show the prosecutor.
Hey there. Welcome, welcome.
Last 42109, right?
Okay. So I have your report, but I also have your body cam. Did the body camera refresh your recollection as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I have it on a flash drive, but it's the same video.
As long as you're able to lay a foundation, get it in, theoretically, you play it digitally, and then we can get a hard copy to the judge later. Similar to how I have to redact.
I have a hard copy already to give the judge today. So you indicated to me already that you were recording on body camera all of the interaction that you had with the individuals that you were speaking to, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Maddox's conversation, Mr. Maddox is one of the persons that you were speaking to.
Yes, ma'am.
And his interview would have been recorded on your body camera, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And your body camera was turned over to the state, and you didn't make any changes or alterations to that body camera, did you?
No, ma'am.
So it is a fair and accurate representation of what was being recorded on the incident day, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, Your Honor, I'd like to admit what is gonna be Defense Exhibit 1 into evidence.
All right.
No objection, Judge.
All right. Defense 1 is Officer Barnett's body worn camera footage.
And Your Honor, for the record, we're starting at 1:14 6:04. Sorry, an hour, 14 minutes and 4 seconds.
Yep.
Yeah. He's up there. That's my boyfriend as well.
Also, there's another vehicle. It's
Yeah.
in the front, so we gotta take that off. Take it off right
Which
now.
one? Yeah, the one Coop was in.
So I told
No,
him to
the
grab
one
the
Coop
keys.
was in, that's my car.
What car is that?
My car is parked on the street right here.
Not right there where the officer's at?
No, like on the side, like go across the street and it's parked right there on the side. That's the my car.
Why is that open now?
It's another vehicle.
I think that's another
Another
shooting.
shooting.
That's
It's not.
another shooting.
That's
Yeah, yeah,
another
yeah,
shooting.
So,
Oh,
we
okay.
What type of car
gotta
do you
process that
have?
vehicle, okay?
Look, it's Fulton.
Not a big deal. No, you're gonna get your car back.
Yeah, I see
You're
your
gonna get your car back. All they're gonna do is my brother.
Which key?
got it. I had it. I drove her.
Yeah, you're gonna get
Your boyfriend?
I drove her. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
I knew it was your car. I told you earlier.
you got the key?
Nah, the tall black one who was talking to me over there, he got the key.
You got, oh, he's going.
Yeah, he already went down there to the car. It's literally right there when you go straight across the street.
Okay.
Right there where the first meter, the first parking meter box is right there. But yeah, he already got the key.
Okay.
He came to me and told me.
My phone is acting up. Okay, so did you see what happened? I know.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened? You got your ID on you?
Even if he already got my stuff.
Yeah, just cause it'll get lost somewhere.
Probably right there.
Did you witness the argument or just the
Shoot.
shooting?
I literally was in the shower.
Oh wow.
Like, when I tell you I'm fresh out the shower, maybe 30 minutes.
At least you're clean.
Exactly.
At least you are clean. Have your phone number?
678
678
993
993.
71.
Alright, so what happened? Well,
From
You got-
from when
yeah.
I came down, it was the party is getting ready to be over with, so we moving the cars to where the house we live in. We moving them back to the driveway. She gets his car, she's moving his car, coming around. Who I drove here, from what they told me that he was already arguing. So as they came back, as I came back down, by the time I'm walking down the driveway to go get her car to move it, he rushes him over there. Rushes him. Yeah.
Okay.
Literally, as he rushes him, my brother Chris, who was in there, tries to stop
you're
him.
Q as well?
No,
No, okay.
that's my girlfriend's brother.
Swain is her brother.
It's her brother.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So literally, as I'm coming down, and he runs up to me. It's like three, like including Swain. There's two other Qs that's right there. They're trying to stop him. He gets around it. So as he come up to him, it's like he squares up. As he squares up and doing all of that, he already got the gun drawn. You got the gun drawn. Oh, you don't have to shoot me. I ain't got no gun. How it hits him, literally how it hits him, his teammate went through and through. Because the trajectory of it came down, boom, that's when it hit him in the leg. That's how
Okay,
it
so it
Swain.
entered here.
No, it hit him in the front.
Okay,
Came out, hit Swain in the face.
same bullet.
One shot.
Okay.
It was only literally one shot.
Okay. And Your Honor, for the record, the video is being stopped at 1 hour, 17 minutes and 40.
I'm really confused why the defense showed that when he just said that he walked up to him, held his hands up, said, "Hey, you don't got to shoot me. I ain't got nothing." And then he shot him.
48 seconds.
But what you will do is get me actually a disc that's all of Officer Barnett's video, because this is her. She can authenticate all of it, and she has. And I guess that's what defense one is. But we just watched a copy of what you've given me for that segment you described.
Yes, Your Honor. And I have a copy on a flash drive for you.
Okay.
So Officer Barnett, you heard Mr. Maddox say he only saw the shooting, correct?
Correct.
And you heard him say that Mr. Cooper rushed the other guy, correct? And you also heard Mr. Maddox say that Cooper said, "You gonna have to shoot me."
I really couldn't hear it in the video.
Um,
Kind of.
Okay.
But you also wrote a report.
Correct.
And
Yes.
in your report, it would have said what you actually heard in the video.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm gonna show you
Okay.
what's already been shown to the state as your statement.
And we're going to Maddox, correct?
Yes,
Okay, got you.
it starts on the first page.
Okay.
And is your memory refreshed?
Yes, ma'am.
So, Mr. Maddox told you that Cooper said to Bill, "You gonna have to shoot me."
Yes, ma'am.
Nothing further.
I mean, 1 second. So, do you have any redirect, Mr. Costello?
I have no redirect, Judge.
All right. May Officer Barnett step down?
Yes.
All right. Can we, why don't you stay on the stand if you don't mind? Can we play the Maddox segment again that you just played, please?
Oh, that's interesting.
And you can probably skip the first minute of it where it's mostly your forearm and you're getting the biographical information. Right. So if you go to 115, we're not going to miss anything that I am wanting to hear again. Are you still morning watch?
Oh, I'm day watch.
Day watch, good. So we're not getting you after a long shift. Okay, good.
Come on.
Down there to the car. It's literally right there. When you go straight across the street.
Okay.
Right there where the first parking meter box is right there. But yeah, he already got the key.
Okay.
He came to me and told me.
My phone is acting up. Okay, so did you see what happened? I know.
Yeah.
Okay, you saw what happened. You got your ID on you?
Even if he already got my stuff.
Yeah, just cause it'll get lost somewhere. Did you witness the argument or just the
Shooting.
or just the shooting?
I literally was in the shower.
Oh wow.
Like when I tell you I'm fresh out the shower, maybe 30 minutes.
At least you're clean.
Exactly.
At least you are clean. How's your phone number?
678
678
993
993
7.
Alright, so what happened? Well, when you got
From when
yeah.
I came down, it was the party is getting ready to be over with, so we moving the cars to where the house live, and we moving them back to the driveway. She gets Chris' car, she's moving his car, coming around. Who I drove here, from where they told me that he was already arguing. So as I came back down, by the time I'm walking down the driveway to go get her car to move it, he rushes him over there.
Rushes him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally as he rushes. My brother Chris, who was in there, tries to stop
You're a
him.
Q as well?
No.
No, okay.
That's my girlfriend's brother.
Swain is her brother.
It's her brother.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So literally as I'm coming down, and he runs up to me. It's like three, including Swain, there's two other Qs that's right there that's trying to stop him. He gets surrounded. So as he come up to him, it's like he squares up. As he squares up and all of that, he already got the gun drawn. You got the gun drawn? Oh, you don't have to shoot me. I ain't got no gun. Pow! how it hits him, literally how it hits him, it seems like, you don't have to shoot me. I ain't got no gun. You know, it's like he squares up. As he squares up and doing all that, he already got the gun shown.
I didn't mean to keep you on the stand, but just in case anyone had questions about what we listened, I don't have any more questions. Sure.
From state.
We're done, Leon, I'm sorry.
Okay. Officer Burnett, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, we are halfway through the last part. So we have one more segment to go tomorrow. I think there's one more body cam or maybe it's just closing arguments. I'm not sure, but I will put it together and we will finish it tomorrow. Thank you all for hanging out and watching the pups sleep. I put together a playlist and each of the videos have the other ones in the description if you want to check them out. This one was not the most interesting, but number 1 and number 3 are pretty good. All right, everybody, have a wonderful afternoon and I will see you soon. Take care.